Well, hey, morning, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, 30 plus year professional video game enthusiast. Yeah, I'll get it done one day. But good to see everyone. It is Friday. Happy Friday. Hopefully, everyone is looking forward to the weekend. Even if you're working over the weekend, hopefully, it's a good weekend for you. I remember back in the day where I was always working weekends. It was like, I, you know, I think all through my 20s, I think the jobs I had were weekenders. So yeah, when I started having weekends off, it felt good. But I get it. Some people still have to work, and in fact, a lot of times I'm still doing work on weekends anyway. So, but yeah. So for Friday, we got some cool stuff we're going to talk about here. Some of the stuff I got into over the weekend. Good morning, JamKillX. Good to see you, Ultronymous, Midnight Hatter. Howdy, gamers. All right. Well, yeah, let's get into it. Let's see. What is the first thing I want to share? I'm going to do a screen share. And this is, again, that Exophase website where you can, link all your stuff just to show my activity. So, again, I was playing some Castlevania Portrait of Ruin to finally beat it again, but on my custom DS in the emulator to do the retro achievements because I love to track stuff. This, I click on here, it tells me, get 100% of Dracula's map completion. This one, find all the HP max upgrade. I love that I can do this and not have to worry about, it's like old games being renewed. I love this stuff. So someone actually requested that I kind of make a video explaining how to make use of retro achievements. So I think I'm going to do that. And again, it's not to think of it as, I need to collect as many points as possible. It's more of, no, this is a great way to kind of see where you are in new games, classic games where they've added achievements that didn't exist before. And it just, it breathes new life into everything. So yeah, not only Castlevania, but yesterday, Dead Rising 2 Case West. So my son and I were playing Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. We just wanted a fighting game to play for a little bit. And then he was talking about Dead Rising, and it's just funny because I was like, wow, yeah, they just announced that they're doing this remaster. And so he wanted to jump back into to play it because I guess it's one he played when he was really young, but now that he understands gaming more, and I was reminded how good Dead Rising is. Capcom's just one of those companies, man. They're always killing it, and able to this new Dead Rising remaster they're doing is going to be on the RE engine, and just seeing what the games they've released lately, it's just going to be awesome. I'm excited. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is okay. It never had the fun of the second one. Or maybe I just didn't play it enough. It does say 6 hours. So I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Is that it for that? Yeah. I want to say, there's something else I played that actually doesn't get tracked on Exophase, I think, unless there's, let's see, platform. Yep. Okay. So what I'm looking for, and maybe non-tracked can have some, I'll have to look at that, is Apple Arcade, which I don't know how much the iOS gaming is a big deal. It seemed like it was last year with Apple Arcade, and then I got an Apple device to play arcade games. So far, while it does have exclusives, one of them being a Ninja Turtle game that's really good, is getting released on the Switch. So it's okay, well, is the Apple Arcade really going to be an exclusive style platform going forward? And I don't know. It still has, though, the Castlevania game I like to play. That actually, it came out in 2019, I think, and I just ignored it because I was like, why would I play a mobile Castlevania game? But it's actually, for not being a Metroidvania, it's a pretty cool modern interpretation of just a Castlevania game. It's just a lot of the components and aspects of it are based around a mobile game where it's here's all the different currencies. Here's these little quest types you could do. Here's where you can send out to have things come back to you in 5 hours with more resources, little things like that. But going through each level in this Castlevania game, it's just like an old school Castlevania game, just with modern graphics and really good controls. It uses both analog sticks, and you could even switch characters. It's actually pretty good. but no way to track it here. So, okay. What are we going to get to next? I'm saying yeah, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 doesn't hit as strong as MVC2, the roster being part of that. Yeah, that is very interesting because my son and I were going through like the character select, and I was surprised how many I wasn't that interested in. But it's neat, I guess, that they add new things for different people. But yeah, that game did not hit as hard. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, music too. Marvel's Capcom 2 music was like weird at first. I was like, what is this music? And then I was like, oh, wait, this is cool stuff. I'm going to take you on a ride, right? Isn't that what they say? Okay. Here's something I found really cool. Vermis is my favorite RPG that doesn't exist. And I'm like, well, what is he talking about? And he's like, I collect video game strategy guides. And I was like, okay, what are we getting at here? And this is what's going on. This company made a strategy guide for a Souls-like that doesn't exist. And I love that. It's like they came up with their own lore, artwork, kind of describing... I love that art. It's pretty creepy. Describing like weapons, classes of characters, different levels. Once you cross the mist, the atmosphere is filled with a violent silence. That only ceases when your footsteps. It's just the atmosphere, right? And like really cool looking stuff because like this art has this style to it where it almost seems. I don't want to say basic is the term, but it has a look to it. Yeah, like look at that. This is pretty neat. So the thing is, I don't know if it's sold out for real or it's just not for sale yet. But I feel like this is something I would want to look at. That is pretty neat. So there's that. And some other thing here showing some the known gods. Anyway, I love this stuff. I remember when I was a kid, there was this book I had, and it was a pretty big hardcover, but it was tall, and it was just filled with pages of just made up aliens from different planets, and it was like explained how they would function on their planet, and I was like, that's a neat idea. And I remember I would then do that. And I don't remember if this was elementary school or middle school. I would take out paper and just draw random made up aliens, and I would try to explain all the different aspects of them. Love that stuff. Let's see. What was the other? Oh yeah, this sounded neat. Multiple Assassin's Creed remakes are on the way. So, I don't know what to think sometimes. Like, one, there's a lot of Assassin's Creed games and a lot that come out. And then there's a lot of remakes that come out. And does an Assassin's Creed remake, or a number of Assassin's Creed remakes make sense? I want to say almost yes, because I feel like at its core, the Assassin's Creed formula is pretty good, but I think it just got ahead of itself and it started kind of over-expanding. Now, they did come out with that, was it? Mirage was the one that came out last year that was kind of basic, and I played it a little bit, and it didn't really intrigue me to keep going. But then we have the new one, and I totally forgot its name, but looks a badass, and it has that it's like a girl ninja and the black Yasuke samurai, which that sounds awesome. But I wonder if the gameplay, like, is this going to be an example of the Assassin's Creed gameplay moving forward? So that makes me think, could they take maybe classic Assassin's Creed games that were fan favorites and remake them in a degree where they're maybe taking out some older mechanical tropes that kind of don't jive today and maybe put some quality of life improvements? And I think the best example for this, and maybe the goalpost has always been moved, but right now it's Capcom, like how they did Resident Evil 4. The remake, like, that's a game that didn't need a remake. And then when I played it, even though I wasn't that crazy about playing through it all, though playing it, it's like, man, Capcom knows how to take something and make it super modern and playable. And I think it would be cool to do that with Assassin's Creed. And I wonder if that's an important thing for companies to do, as they have franchises that are very successful, and as they age, do they need to go back and kind of redo it for a modern audience? Because it is interesting, sometimes you could play a game that comes out when it comes out and enjoy it, and then maybe years later be like, no, I can't play that anymore. And I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's anything like that, but it's kind of like that idea I think I talked about where it's, what is your favorite game? And I remember for the longest time I'd say things like, Sonic 2 or Super Mario World. And while those are fun, it's easy for me to say what are some of my favorite games right now? Oh, Elden Ring, Breath of the Wild. It's because there's all these modern things that would not exist then. And it's not like it makes those games worse, but it's like now gaming is different, and um, but I could still say Sonic 2 is up there because for just a fast-paced platformer that like Sonic in general got me into the gaming world. Like I had played video games, I thought they were cool, but it wasn't until the attitude of Sonic that I was like, okay, gaming can be cool. And just playing Sonic 2 is just a good example of that. That's why they've never really had to actually remaster a Sonic 2. They've always re-released it, or that gameplay would just be in like Sonic Mania, for instance. So remakes. I think Dead Rising having that remaster that they're calling it a remaster, but remake. I don't know that. I feel like Steven and I need to talk remaster versus remake, just for fun. But the Dead Rising again, Capcom doing the remake of Dead Rising with modern sensibilities. I think that's going to be awesome. So yeah, remakes sometimes seem like there's a lot, but I think they can be good, especially if you get newer people into the older games that it's hard to get them into. All right. What else did I have set up? Oh, yeah. Feels not too far away. So this is interesting. What's really interesting to me is like what this Tomb Raider could be. So it's been some time since Amazon announced its Tomb Raider Lord of the Rings video games, and it sounds like fans will have to wait a while longer for a reveal. Amazon announced it had signed a deal with Crystal Dynamics to develop and publish the next major Tomb Raider game back in December 2022. We've heard nothing in the year and a half since, although Crystal Dynamics was forced to reassure fans that it was unaffected by devastating cuts at embattled parent company Embracer. Meanwhile, Amazon announced it had signed a deal with Middle-earth rights owner Embracer to develop an as-yet untitled The Lord of the Rings MMO back in May 2023. Again, we've heard nothing since, but we do know this game is set in Middle-earth and features the stories of the hobbits and more. So I'm not interested in the Lord of the Rings game. And they're saying it's an MMO, but it depends. Like if it comes out and they're like, hey, this is a game where it's going to have some badass combat. I guess that's the main thing, and maybe have a cool interactive open world. But if it's MMO, like, the traditional sense, I might not be that interested. And that's interesting. So going back to these remakes and remasters, how much does the MMO need to evolve? And is it worth taking something like a World of Warcraft or any other MMO and maybe, even though they're habit-based games and people get into the groove of those habit-based games and they're okay with it, but what could you do more to maybe modernize that? I'm curious because it's hard for me to get into MMOs because a lot of times what I'm playing with is not the mechanics, rather it's systems of like understanding loot or understanding stat points. Like it's less about me, engaging with the world. And also MMOs are a lot about story a lot of times, and that's something I personally don't care too much about. Speaking of variety, Amazon Games chief Christoph Hartmann said a reveal for either game is not imminent, but is not long away. It's not going to be tomorrow, but it's not too far away. So if it's not tomorrow, it could be the next day. So it's interesting because they said we have to wait a while longer, but they're saying it's not too far away. So Amazon's plan is getting into a much more regular cadence of shipping games. That's really cool that Amazon is still trying this out. So that's all I'm allowed to tell you right now, Hartman added. It's all about quality. You don't want to just be rushed out. That doesn't work. It has to be AAA quality because the bar is so high. It's cool they're saying that. And with Crystal Dynamics and what they've done with Tomb Raider, I feel like they've always produced like highest quality AAA gaming. So the only thing is, I'm curious what direction this new Tomb Raider could take. Could they be using the same Lara Croft? Could they be it might still be open world, but like change the way it works? Would they make it more linear? I don't know. I'm curious. So yeah, we might see some news, but it doesn't. Yeah, and then they're just talking about other stuff. But yeah, I'm curious about how that Tomb Raider is going to be. I actually didn't play the most recent one. I think it was like Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I played those first two of the recent trilogy and liked them. But after that second one, I felt so burnt out. In fact, it was like halfway through the second one, I was like, I need to just stop exploring and just beat it, because I was like, I think I get it. It's very interesting how a game can be designed to be to explore, to be open world, to have so many things to do, and how much of it can you just like, okay, I've had my fill, you know. I wonder how much that is thought of when a game is being developed. All right, let's look at some news articles. And again, this will be first time seeing some of this stuff. Okay, Don't Nod delays new IP Lost Records of Bloom and Rage 2025. Okay, I don't know too much about that. Oh, it's Life is Strange type thing. Okay. Okay. Konami producer says it would be the dream for Kojima to return to Metal Gear. I wonder why. Okay, let's read this. Konami's Metal Gear series producer has said it would be the dream for the company to work with Hideo Kojima and other original development staff again. Noriaki Okamura, that was okay, I paused, made the comments during Japanese live stream on Friday with the caveat that he wasn't assuming Kojima and his former colleagues would necessarily feel the same way. Kojima split from Konami in 2015 following a mysterious falling out following the conclusion of Metal Gear Solid 5. While Kojima still regularly talks about Metal Gear, he no longer has any control over the property. Man, it's like a George Lucas Star Wars thing. I wonder how much he kind of loves it, but it's like, you know, or like an ex-girlfriend thing where you have to kind of move on, but you still have feelings. I bet. However, it would appear that tension between the pair may have cooled in the years since. Asked if there was any chance of original staff members working on Metal Gear again during Friday's livestream, Konami producer Okamura replied, "It's not my place to answer on behalf of anyone outside the company or to guess how they might feel about it. But just speaking for myself personally, I'd like nothing better than to work with Mr. Kojima and the rest of the team again. If that could happen, it would be the dream." And that's interesting because Konami is the type of studio since the beginning where they never credited game development to individuals. It was always like just the Konami team, or like who made the music. It was the Konami sound team. It wasn't until like certain titles or later on, like I think once that Metroidvania took off, they're like, okay, yeah, Koji Igarashi's the main guy. And then he had all, you know, he was making these games, they were amazing, and then eventually had a falling out with Konami and had to leave. Same thing with Hideo Kojima. Metal Gear Solid, you know, comes out, people love it, and then you get the sequel, and then people are all in about the artist making the game, Hideo Kojima, and Konami's, you know, propping him up, and then a falling out, and he leaves. And both of these developers then made, in a way, games similar to their sensibilities with other publishers or developers, or, you know, and so that's very interesting. That's like, I feel like it would be interesting to know what this falling out was exactly. Because at a certain point, I wonder how much a creator then feels like they're entitled to more. Whereas, you know, Konami's MO has always just been, you know, it's not about the individual artist, it's about the team, the group. And I'm not saying there's anything good or bad with that. Just, I wonder then if that makes an individual artist then feel like they're too big for where they're at and they feel like they're entitled to do more. So then they just leave. And that's probably the best thing to do. You know, you don't want to be tied down but I think that the point I'm trying to make is I don't think that necessarily means Konami did anything wrong, or even Hideo Kojima or Koji Igarashi did anything wrong. It's just difference of art, probably. But people have moved on to new things and new commitments, so that's just our current reality. We can't just take for granted that everyone would work with us again or let ourselves be completely dependent on them. He added, "I just don't think it's right for us to be the ones to make that kind of demand of anyone. So we're working with the expectation that whatever we make, it's up to us. It's on our shoulders to do a good job." According to Okamura, many staff from the original Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater development team are already working on the upcoming remake. That's cool. The main external developer working on the game is Virtuous. Virtuos. Ukamura himself was a producer for many Metal Gear spin-off games, including Metal Gear Acid 2, Metal Gear Solid Digital Graphic Novel, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops Plus, and Metal Gear Survive. Not the best of Metal Gear. In Friday's live stream, the producer went on to claim that, like with the recent Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, Kojima and the original staff will be credited in the upcoming Metal Gear Solid 3 remake in some form. Okay, so that's cool that they're crediting them and everything. I wonder if there's anything. Yeah. So anyway, I always find this stuff interesting. It's funny how much I've followed Metal Gear games, yet I've never fully completed any of them, and I think I need to. The furthest I probably got was with the first. I think I don't know why I stopped. And then the second one, too many cutscenes, and I was just like, yeah, it's cool, but I'll go. Never played the third. Never played the fourth. Played through and beat Ground Zeroes because wasn't that really short. And then just started Phantom Pain, but haven't played much in that. All right, let's move on. Well, actually, let's get a chat. Sometimes it's good chat. Oh yeah, here we go. Midnight Hatter, Metal Gear without Kojima sucks, but Kojima doesn't want to do it anymore. He hasn't wanted to make Metal Gear for the last 3 games. Jim Kill X, how does he still have his job after saying that? And Midnight Hatter saying he said he wants Metal Gear Solid 1 to be remade, but he doesn't want to be involved. Oh, and that's kind of cool. That would be cool for them. Well, didn't they kind of remake it with Dennis Dyack for the GameCube or something like that? Jim Kill X, Konami must really try to redeem themselves after being labeled a black company and worse to work for in Japan for 2 years straight. They were terrible. They are definitely trying to redeem themselves if they are going to give proper credit. It's very interesting that Konami's considered that, especially considering how they've been able to not have to go through some of the turmoil a lot of companies have, because I think Konami has kind of been a little smart, even if a little conservative along the way about like they know Metal Gear works, so they're going to do that. They know Castlevania works, so they're going to do that. And then they just kind of, the things that kind of work, it's just interesting, like how just, a couple years ago they released on PS4 only, because I think commissioned by Sony, that Symphony of the Night Rondo of Blood release, which was the first time America saw a release of Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which is amazing, other than the remake that was on the PSP, which was actually the first time, it might have been the first time I played Rondo of Blood, that was 2007, if I hadn't played on an emulator before. But anyway, it's like, I think if Konami was like, okay, we're going to be back in full force in the gaming scene, they know how to do it without all the crap that all these other companies are having to go through. And again, I think sometimes we take that and it's like, then they're just making the pachinko machines or but I guess it's a way for them to be like, hey, we have to be careful with the games we make, but we can still be around. So that's cool, because that means we're getting this new Metal Gear Solid 3. There's a Castlevania game in the works. That's what the rumor is. So can't wait to hear about that. And they're always re-releasing stuff. Like, they work with limited run games to do like the Rocket Knight adventures. I feel like Konami fell from grace and we forgot about them, but they're still there. So they are definitely trying to redeem themselves. Yeah, if they're going to give proper. So that's nice. Yeah, to give the credit. I think that needs to be done. Okay, how to score all the. Okay. First Descendant, I think I played this in beta, and it's actually pretty cool. It's just like, am I going to add another game? What more does it do? And I think this is maybe worth giving a shot, because I had a lot of fun with it. The benefits of working remotely. Well, I mean, working remotely has a lot of benefits. There's also benefits with meeting in person to do things, but I think if you are to kind of focus on remote and then do in person when necessary, I bet that reduces a lot of cost, headache, and speeds up a process. I mean, I first worked remote, I think it was like 2013. Was it 2013, 2014, 2013? It was my first remote job where I was just work from home. And then I got another job that was back in the office. because that time that I got the job remote, that wasn't that wasn't necessarily the thing yet. But then they started introducing it at the job I was at after that, and then now it's just been I've been remote for so long. It's allowed me to do this. Actually, it gives me the time where I can make content about my hobbies, but also with game development. Like even with Steven sometimes, like he'll do a screen share with me in Discord and show Unity and the things he's doing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I like the fact that we could collab like that, and then send files to each other really quickly in a Discord or whatever. It's working remotely is has a lot of benefits. Are there any downsides to it? Well, one thing I will say is there's less like face-to-face interactions at all time, and that is a very important thing, but I feel like that also then took up a lot of my time. Thinking back to being in the office, how much time was kind of spent with just random other stuff. Yeah, just kind of interesting. Okay, Warzone's original map for Dance is set to return. I couldn't say I'd recognize it. Let's see. Anything else? Even hardcore audiences love DLC when it's done right. Well, yeah, I mean, isn't that always been the case? Like, as someone that started with PC gaming back, that was the 80s, but like even in the 90s, even though I played console games, to me, PC was more of like, I don't know, like cutting edge for me. Most games that came out on PC would then have what they would just call an expansion pack. It's like, oh, here's the expansion. Here's the expansion. It's kind of weird that they just call it DLC, downloadable content. Like, I feel like at the time they were referring to the means of getting more content for a game, but now they're applying that onto what is essentially just an expansion pack. Most of the time with these games, like Elden Ring's DLC is literally straight up a 90s expansion pack to like Doom or something in terms of like releasing a whole new area. Shadow Warrior, remember getting expansions. So many games. Wolfenstein, even games I can't even think of right now. But so it's weird that, so in here when they're talking about the 250 horse armor DLC, like there is such a difference between a cosmetic and an expansion. And I feel like that needs to kind of be talked about. I really wish things like the Elden Ring Erdtree would be referred to as an expansion so that we can, delineate cosmetics as DLC. I don't know. Let's see. 27-year-old man admits canceling Nintendo Japan events by threatening to kill everyone for shitty games. Okay, I remember I was reading about that earlier. It's pretty wild. Let's see. YouTube demonetizes Dr. Disrespect's channel following Twitch ban accusations. I don't know too much of the details here, but it seems like there's a lot of, again, where these companies are doing things without there really being any, look, if this guy really did something bad, that needs to then be a law enforcement thing. I don't think random media platform holders need to do anything unless they're told something happened. I don't know. I try not to get too involved in that stuff. It's creepy and scary, like when dark things like that occur. The Elden Ring's new PC performance issues may be caused by mouse software. Okay, nice excuse. I haven't heard Ubisoft say that. No, I'm joking. Could be. SAG-AFTRA announces fourth tier new indie dev contract. That's pretty interesting. Is it indie anymore? All right, Shadow of the Erdtree sold 5 million copies in 3 days. Is that trajectory less than the original? You would think that would just have to be the case in general, but that's still an amazing sell-through. Ubisoft X Defiant reaches 11 million players. So I wonder how good that is, because obviously I want this to turn out good. And the other day, I think I talked about it. I just jumped into play and I was actually having some fun. I just played one match, but it was kind of a fun little. Wait, is it linking to something? Oh, okay. Is this how they do this nowadays? Okay, so this actually goes into a lot. This actually might be worth reading later, but I hope Xifine is seeing a success. I just know that a lot of times if a multiplayer game comes out nowadays and it's really popular at first and huge, Helldivers 2 is a good example, it can slowly then decline and settle in a spot that I think maybe the publishers or developers need to try to plan for, so they're not overshooting what the support for the game. Yeah, because like even like the Evil Dead game when that first came out, it was super popular. But then over time, it was like, yeah, we've done everything. We're moving on. And it was like interesting how these games, these online games, will only exist in a certain place and time. A new game comes out that's online only. A bunch of people play, and it's like at that point in time, like the early days of WoW is probably something that people can't recreate today. Halo 2, that whole multiplayer thing was amazing. And we don't really, it's hard to really, and I think Helldivers 2 is a good example of that. Early Helldivers 2 was kind of like, whoa, what is this? All these systems, it's going crazy. Oh, I killed everybody accidentally, and, fun stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm saying he admitted the wrongdoing and went to court already, but now consequences are coming out. So from what I understand, though, that Twitch had just cut ties with him, didn't inform law enforcement, yet paid him the rest of his contract just because they didn't want to be in controversy of something. But it was like, now that the NDA is over, Twitch employees that used to be there are now saying, oh, this is what happened behind the scenes. But I feel like then there's a failure of systems if this is going about it like this. I still find it all very odd. Not saying that he didn't do anything, though. Like, I'm actually not defending him. I'm actually just trying to... Why is this what it is if something happened, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's like if I'm scrolling through my news and it's talking about, man, it was sexting a minor, blah, blah, blah. It's like... Or it's like the back and forth still. And it's like, okay, why is this coming up now? What's been transpiring? What originally happened? Did everyone really do what they should have? It's an awkward situation. Let's see, what else we're getting at. Actually, I'm over time. I'm late for work. I'll see real quick if there's... Hitman's latest elusive target is Conor McGregor. That's fun. Man, I need to get back into Hitman. Hitman's just remind me of like the gameplay loops I love. Sniper Elite 5 does it. Helldivers does it. I've learned from Midnight Hatter that Metal Gear Solid 5 does it, just having all these systems that you can manipulate along the way. And they now have, where Assassin's Creed is a platform, so that's pretty interesting. Okay, that's about my time. I do need to get going. Let's see. I thought it was McGregor, but was convinced I was bugging. Oh, yeah. That's kind of neat. I wonder if it's a playoff of his role in Roadhouse remake. He was just wacky. He's completely wacky character. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everyone that's tuning in. This weekend I might have a couple videos go up on this channel. Someone had asked me to do an overview of retro achievements, so I might do that. And then the David Jaffe interview also is going to go up. So, yeah, look forward to that. So until next time, guys, have a good weekend.